Hello,
And welcome.
and welcome to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Bam, 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 bam.
That's not the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire song.
This is also not Who Wants to
What
Be a
is
Millionaire.
the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire song? Is that it? It's just a little jingle sound?
That's
If
right.
I had $1 million.
That's not.
No,
That's not the
it?
Millionaire song.
Pretty sure that played every single time.
I'm playing right now.
Probably. There's like a mobile game, right? Something like that.
Oh,
No, there's one of those cereal games. You get the disc in the cereal. You know, you get the CD in the cereal.
Oh,
yeah. Do people not do that? I mean, they don't do it anymore.
who has a CD player anymore?
I
It
mean,
have to come with like a little like USB stick, but that is not advised to plug random USB sticks into your computer.
I mean, they would definitely just have like a QR code to download link or something.
Yeah, that's basically it now. Hello and welcome to Day One Patch Podcast, episode 562. I'm your host,
Hell yeah.
Ryan Johnson. Matt Lawrence is here. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing all right, yeah.
You're living in Blurry World.
I'm living in Blurry World.
That's where Bigfoot's from. He's from Blurry World.
He
He was,
himself is blurry.
He could be behind you right now, and
He
we
wa-
wouldn't really know.
he was seen in Ontario recently. Apparently,
Is he coming down from like north or like from the west? Like he's coming, you know what I mean?
Wait, is he? You're saying like he's on a trek? Like it was like, man, he's northbound. Headed south.
Well, where's he historically, quote unquote,
headed
supposed to be
south.
from?
I have no
He
idea.
or she? We don't know.
ooh,
We
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I don't know anything about Bigfoot. I just know that he's always blurry in pictures.
I don't know anything about Bigfoot.
Where is
Help
Bigfoot
me.
from? Let's take a look here.
You got to go to that one guy that was in that reality show where he said that he personally like killed and skinned something like 5 of them or something.
With those bare hands.
Bigfoots?
You need bare hands to take out a Bigfoot.
You just have a wrestling match with the thing.
Yeah. He's from Canada and the United States. Look at that.
Dual citizen.
I hope so.
Keeps his
Dark?
passport in his pockets.
Dark reddish hair. That's like Matt's beard.
Wait a
Hold it.
minute.
6 to 9 feet tall.
Nice.
That's a pretty bad description. That's quite a variance.
6 to 9 feet?
6 to 9 feet is quite a variance.
Yeah,
Well, it's hard to tell
foot's
from
just
that
like
far
a
away.
guy. That's just a guy. But
He's not called 6 foot. He's called Bigfoot.
yeah.
He also eats babies.
I mean, at this point, if people still believe in Bigfoot, I mean, I feel like you could find him. They got those helicopters with like the heat cameras on them that can find like missing people in the woods within like, hours or whatever. I feel like you could find Bigfoot if you wanted to.
I just don't want to.
They're still trying to find Nessie in that one lake.
I kind of wonder if it's like the thing, where people say, oh, they already have the cure to cancer because, they'd lose all their money from all the fundraising they get for, or for research grants and whatever to try to look for the cure. So looking for the cure is more profitable than the cure. Maybe the same is true with Bigfoot.
Looking for
Maybe they already
Bigfoot's more
found
profitable.
Bigfoot, but there's a TV show or YouTube series or whatever about looking for the bastard all the time. That there's no incentive to find him because then all that dries up.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
I bet
did.
you they did find him. They're like, look, there he is, and they let him get away. Because
They
they
let
want
him
to
get
keep
away.
they want to keep their show going.
Like mountain monsters. They're just season after season. They're
I like the one thing they said about like the ghost hunters or whatever is like they've proved that ghosts don't exist because they've never found them. They've never captured them really.
still
You know?
hunting them, man.
They're still hunting. Yeah,
going
you're
after
still
them.
looking for them. And
I did see, and I did not click into it in one of my news feeds. I did see an unhinged article that said that Russian vaccine for cancer threatens to disrupt like a something trillion dollar treatment economy. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, here we go. Here we frickin' go.
I just feel personally like it would have leaked by now.
Be a lot of
I
money
don't
in
know.
leaking it.
Well, not just that, but like there's probably like research, cancer research places all over the world, right? All of them are keeping it secret. All of them have not found the cure, or have found the cure and are hiding it. Like it's too preposterous,
But
And
it
what
makes
company
for a
wouldn't
fun
want to be
story.
like, we have the cure, boom, and then they sell it, and then they're the only ones who have it,
But think of the story.
Yep. All right, that's not what we're talking about. What are we talking about? What kind of podcast is this?
The
What are we
Bigfoot
doing?
podcast.
Yeah,
No,
so
it's a
we're
6
gonna
foot
go out
podcast.
and search for Bigfoot. We got a list of all the gear here. Take a look. Matt's got the net.
One,
I got the net?
One
Yeah,
net.
Tim has several pair of rubber gloves.
Oh, it's true.
That's
you don't
for
want to
the
get
autopsy we're going to perform after we
Oh.
kill the bastard.
I was gonna say you don't want to get that Bigfoot juice on you.
And I got the thing from Payless Shoes to measure your feet size, so we can really, we can really get a handle on
The
how
metal
big
like
his feet
ratcheting
are.
one.
Yeah.
It's off the
Specifically
scale.
for Payless Shoes.
Yeah. I'm not gonna steal it from some other place. I'm
You
gonna pay
stole it.
What are they gonna do? They're not gonna. I'm taking this for Bigfoot. What are they gonna let me walk out with it?
He paid less than it was worth.
They're like, damn, that's a good idea.
All right. We're doing video games, I guess.
Sure.
Sure. But Matt, do you have a video game fun fact for us?
I do indeed.
Then take it away.
So this is actually building off of last week's, which was about the Sega MegaNet and the all the like online goodness that brought. And I mentioned that when I was doing all the research for last week's fun fact that I found like sort of the next generation, quote unquote, if you will, of this online thing, and it was called the Sega Channel. So what is the Sega Channel? It was an early distribution service that ran from about 1944, from 1994 through 1998. It was an online game service for the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive that provided a rotating library of games via cable TV. So Sega launched the service in the US on December 12th, 1994, and it was later discontinued on July 31st, 1998. It was one of the first attempts to deliver full games over a network rather than cartridges, decades before modern game streaming platforms such as Xbox Game Pass.
That's amazing.
Now, this was actually a joint venture because we're talking cable TV, of course. Cable TV is a big thing, especially in the 90s. So Sega partnered with cable giants Telecommunications Inc., or otherwise known as TCI, as well as Time Warner Cable and others to carry the channel, literally the Sega Channel, over coaxial cable. The signal was sent from a production team via satellite to cable head ends and then continuously broadcast in a loop. Subscribers captured their chosen game when it appeared in the loop. So that's a little bit of gobbledygook. So how does this thing actually work? So subscribers paid an activation fee and then received a Sega Channel adapter that looked like a large cartridge. This adapter plugged into the Genesis's cartridge slot and it connected to the household cable line via coaxial port.
Wow.
Turning on the console, loaded a menu in about 30 seconds from which players could choose from up to 50 games at a time, later increased to 70 games. Now, because TV broadcasts are one way, Sega continuously transmitted game data in a repeating loop. When a player selected a game, the system waited for that game's data to appear in the loop and downloaded it into the adapter's 4 megabytes of RAM. Games played exactly like their cartridge versions, and they could be played indefinitely as long as the console remained powered on. So effectively what you had to do is you had to wait for the actual game that you wanted out of the collection to be broadcast, and then your console would sort of intercept and capture that and start to download it.
How long would that take in the cycle, though?
Oh, geez.
Apparently it was relatively fast. I don't have the information here, but apparently it was relatively fast. I watched one video on it, and they said it took about 8 to 10 minutes in their experience to download the actual games themselves, and you would be waiting sometimes like 3 to 5 minutes, but I haven't confirmed that. That was just from one of the videos I watched. Games rotated monthly, and later on in the service's life, it was bi-weekly, so that most of the Genesis library could be sampled. The service organized titles into static categories such as test drives, which were pre-release demos, sports arena, arcade, swords and spells, think tank, and more. And parental controls allowed parents to set a passcode to lock mature rated games away from their children. So why would Sega create this? It kind of sounds like a workaround. It's also like, why would they do this? Why not just sell the cartridges? Well, they wanted to capitalize on game rentals and boosting cartridge sales. So Sega saw the Sega Channel as a way to let players try games before buying, similar to renting. The company hoped that by sampling titles at home, players would buy more cartridges. In a 1994 interview, Sega executives described it as as interactive television that would deliver 24-hour programming of roughly 50 best Mega Drive games each month, with test drives offering 10-minute demos of upcoming games. They believed the service would attract gamers and publishers and provide an inexpensive promotional medium. Sega's vice president of programming compared the service to a normal premium channel such as HBO. So Sega, Time Warner, and TCI, among some others that were added eventually, hoped to reach millions of cable households. So there's some money involved in this, obviously, because there's a partnership here. It's cable TV. So what was that? Well, there's a monthly fee and also an activation cost. So when the US service launched, fees varied by region, but were roughly about $15 a month. And there was an activation fee of $25, which included the adapter. The subscription was eventually launched in Canada, and that was approximately $19 Canadian per month. Yes, back then. Yes.
Wow.
Now, this is the other thing, though, I would like to say is I watched a couple videos on this, and one of the takes on this service was that each cartridge was approximately $60 American. So some people who had cable TV actually saw this as a bargain because you didn't have to just play the demos. You could play the full games if they were in the rotation at that time. And so if you were a person that rapidly went through games over and over again, $25 activation fee plus $15 a month is actually cheaper than buying a cartridge by far, especially if you rapidly, like I said, kind of go through that. Now, the thing is, though, is that there have been reports here and there of different price ranges, such as a higher activation fee / installation charge of $50. Some people reported maybe a lower price per month of $12. Some people said $20. Again, it varied per region. Also, there was an optional Express Games a surcharge. I only found one source for this, but subscribers could pay an extra $2.95 US per month to access new releases for 48 hours, known as Express Games, while the standard library delayed new titles by 90 days. So kind of like an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, if you will. So what were the subscriber numbers to this thing? Now, despite being available to over 20 million households at the time, the channel peaked at about 250,000 subscribers and later dropped to about 230,000. Sega had expected over 1 million subscribers in the first year, and retrospective critiques note that the service launched when the Genesis was unfortunately declining. So some critics would then, of course, say, hey, this is a dying system. Why would you pay $13 to $15 US a month for something that's kind of on the way out? There are some games that are locked behind this service as well. There were some unique games launched on this service. And I watched a video on those. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but there's some, what would you call the preservation efforts for not only the Sega channel, but also for bringing some of those unique games kind of back. Because, again, some of them did not receive a cartridge release in the traditional way. So what are these preservation and revival projects? So thanks to preservation efforts, the experience can be recreated today of the Sega channel. In 2025, developer Shane Lynch released a Mr. FPGA core for the Sega channel revival. It was built using reserved ROMs from Billy Time Games and data recovered by the Video Game History Foundation. The project emulates Sega's cable service with near perfect accuracy. Users with a Mr. setup with 128 SD RAM required, or a Raspberry Pi can download the ROM collection from the Internet Archive and run an offline reconstruction that includes the original menus and rotating game library. Save support, unfortunately, at the time of launch, was still in development, although there was no save support in the base service anyway that I found in my research. And so, I mean, if you want to try this thing, you can try it today due to these efforts. But that's it.
Wow.
That's the Sega channel. Pretty interesting. And one of those, another one of those interesting tidbits from tech where they just hacked something together and it just so happened to work.
Well, just the experimentation and just like trying stuff is like what's so fascinating.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of happening, but it just doesn't feel the same. Maybe just because we're in it. But there are like, there are trying stuff, even like remote play and the PlayStation Portal is like an attempt at trying something different. But I don't know. If like back then, it just felt kind of new, I guess. A little novel, maybe.
Well, they're trying to see where it's going to stick, right? In largely. And I mean, like Sega kind of saw this as a way to demo games and try games out. Whereas some people saw it as like a Game Pass library where they're like, man, I'm just going to rip through games in a few days anyway, because games weren't that big back then. So I may as well just keep this. I may as well buy this instead of cartridges. And like, who cares to have cartridges all laying around the house?
Did you say it was transferred to the 4 megabytes of RAM?
That's right.
That's crazy.
Because it's RAM on this adapter / this cartridge adapter. Yeah. Because once you turn it off, it deletes all the data, and then you have to like reconnect to the Sega channel.
Yeah.
There was something else that I found that is unrelated to this, but it's like really short as well. So I remember last week, talking about them trying innovative things. So the Famicom had a similar offering, and I mentioned it very briefly. It was called the Family Computer Network System, and it allowed people to like do things like more utilitarian things such as banking, I believe, and some other stuff. And one of the things it did was it allowed people to bet on horse races. And there was a figure that I found where it was something like 75% or a very high percentage of bets on horse races at that time were coming from Famicom systems. So people were like in Japan were buying this system en masse, connecting to this network and betting on horses remotely. And it was like a huge portion of that industry. So it's just one of those things where it's like, even though that family network thing didn't pan out, there was still this weird niche where like immediately someone's going to look at that and go, well, hang on, maybe there's some room here. People clearly want the sort of instant access. They don't have to go to the whatever horse stadium to bet and watch the races. They could probably, I would imagine, watch it on TV and then just bet from their Famicoms, which is cool.
It just reminds me of like the people that they use their old Wiis for a decade after just to use it as like a Netflix box.
Yeah. Like it makes sense. Like it's,
man, what a time. That was a time too.
Well, man, I used to use my Wii because I had the web browser. I used to use it to watch YouTube because I didn't have a way to watch YouTube on the TV, and I just used to do it on there, and it worked perfect. It worked great.
It's a streaming box before the time.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know when the Apple TV came out, but I might have had an Apple TV, which I think had a YouTube player, but that might be a different time.
I was gonna say I don't think the first Apple TV came out at the same time as the Wii, did it?
Maybe not the same time, but maybe near it. So when did the Wii come out?
2006.
Yeah.
2006.
The Apple TV is that old.
Well, let's take a look here. 2007 was the first one. First generation Apple TV.
Wow. That's actually surprising.
The first one, though, wasn't like a streaming box. It was like a transfer from your Mac box, or transfer from iTunes in particular. So if you had a movie on iTunes, you transfer it to the hard drive on the original Apple TV, and you'd be able to watch it there.
It's kind of like that Windows Media Center thing when you had your Xbox 360 and you had like Windows Media Center like connected to it or whatever.
The second generation was like the streaming box, which is more similar to what it is now. That was 2010. Man, I kind of missed that time period. Jeez, I'm getting old and nostalgic. That's what's happening now. It's brutal.
It's a certainly a different time. Like things are just like well established now. Back then it was just chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Loved that though. The Wild West.
Pretty good for innovation.
Exactly.
Right. Thank you, Matt. That was great.
Thank you, Ryan.
Let's move into our first story for the week. Just a real short Game Pass rumor. This is from IGN. The new head of Xbox is reportedly considering a Game Pass tier that would only include first-party Microsoft games. The Verge's Tom Warren said Asha Sharma, who replaced Phil Spencer as boss of Xbox earlier this year, is looking at potentially adding the new Game Pass tier as part of a shakeup that would evolve the subscription service into a more flexible system, having told staff that Game Pass has become too expensive for players. Where do you think this would fit in like the existing set of Game Pass tiers? Because there already is like, I'm already confused because you have the one version that's like, this comes with like 100 games or whatever, or however many games it was, 50 games, 100 games or whatever. But then you have another tier that comes with a bunch of games, and then there's the tier that comes with the day one releases, right?
There's core, there's premium, there's ultimate, and then I don't know where Game Pass PC fits within that, but I know Game Pass PC is included with ultimate.
So Matt, how do you feel about this then? What do you think that's a good idea to have a Xbox exclusive only tier?
My first, I don't know. My first instinct is to say that it makes more sense when you have a lot of exclusives for your console.
Yeah.
And they don't. So like, are you really going to win people over to your console? Now, maybe that's not the goal here, but
I shouldn't say exclusives. It's first party titles.
Right. But that's exactly what I mean, is they're first party titles, many of which are multi-platform. And I'm saying that if you're a PlayStation gamer, like you have no incentive to buy an Xbox to then get this tier. if you're already on Xbox, are you going to who's going to go specifically for this tier is a good question. I don't know.
I guess the point would be that this would be a cheaper option, obviously, because it doesn't come with hundreds of games.
Right.
Um, and you would save money by using it because we've talked about how if you simply play a handful of Xbox, first party titles a year, you're saving money. And so I do think it would make sense. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, these games are coming to PlayStation, which they might be shutting down as well. That might not be the case going forward. But let's just say they were. You would still save money on an Xbox with a first party only subscription than you would to buy these games at full retail price on PS5, right?
Yes, but how many people are buying Xbox Game Pass for the collection of games versus the Microsoft collection of games?
They might have the data on that. How many people are actually playing what games on Game Pass, right?
Yeah, for sure. I would imagine they would have the data on that. I would hope. This a cheaper Game Pass tier makes sense, but this is adding more convolution to an already convoluted system, and that's not great.
Well, I feel like this would be part of the reorganization of Game Pass.
Which has already been reorganized a few times.
Yes, but this is going to be the Asher Sharma one, where they're not going to just slot this into the current messy one. I think they're going to kind of try to clarify the tiers a bit more because they're a little hazy for me right now. Now I could go and look them up, and I'm sure it's in a nice little chart, but just off the top of my head, I don't actually know what's in each or what each does.
Core is more or less Xbox Live, but there's there's some games in there. Premium is you're not getting day one games, but you're getting a fair bit of games. You're getting a collection of games that's much larger than Core. And then Ultimate is obviously your Ultimate experience, and then PCs for people on PC, and I don't have all the details on that because I've just had Ultimate forever. So
did they get rid of Core? Is it Essential now?
Oh, it might be Essential now. Yeah.
50 plus games on Xbox console, PC, and supported devices. Stream games, including select games you already own. Online console multiplayer, and then their rewards program.
It's even that I didn't even know that they had changed the name. That's already
and then benefits for games like League of Legends and Call of Duty Warzone. Then premium 200 plus games on Xbox console, PC, and supported devices. New Xbox published games joined the library within 12 months of launch. So that's kind of interesting. But I see even that feels messy, doesn't it? Because it's there's no Netflix tier where you get the Netflix originals a year from now. If they're trying to make the Netflix of games, that's a weird way to go about it.
And I mean, I think that's a good point. And I kind of wonder if this tier makes it worse.
Yeah.
Because would you buy a Netflix tier that's Netflix only, or Netflix original only, Netflix films and Netflix shows?
If you save money, I can see that being reasonable.
Save money, yes. I get it. There's going to be people out there that only play the first party games and they're going to save money, and that's good for them. But I just mean en masse. We're talking about they're trying to get more and more subscribers.
Yeah. And then Ultimate is 400 plus games, new games on day one, including new Xbox published games and third party games. Includes Fortnite Crew, EA Play, Ubisoft Plus Classics. You can stream games at their best quality, and then a bunch of rewards and stuff, and online console multiplayer. But that's $33.99 a month. And that's Canadian. I think that is the most expensive subscription I own.
I mean, it's expensive.
Unless you count your phone and internet bills, but that doesn't really. Those are more utility in the sense.
I was gonna say, does a token system make more sense here at this point?
Are you talking about on Podcast Unlocked where they said you get a token, like you're saying, and you can use it on a first party title for that year or for that month or whatever it is?
No, what I meant was, I actually forgot that they had that conversation, but what I more so mean is the Essential or the Core gets 10 tokens, and you sort of choose you get the whole access to the entire Game Pass library, but maybe it rolls over each month or something. So it'll be you have the whole Game Pass library and you claim 10 games, and that's your collection of games. Doesn't matter if it's first party, third party, this, that, the other thing. And then at the end of each month, it either rotates out or you're able to swap them, and you swap them out. And the premium tier would have more tokens. The Ultimate tier might have unlimited or a heck of a lot of tokens. and it would potentially allow them to then lower the price of each tier because they're limiting the usage of Game Pass overall, and they're controlling it via this like token system.
Yeah.
But I mean, this might become like that's also becoming convoluted because now you're going to have to track your own tokens, and some games are going to be removed before the month is over, and there's a whole rigmarole there. But I'm kind of thinking of the tokens almost as a rental status, where you say, I'm renting, Forza this month. And then you might play Forza to death over a 2-month period. So you use your token month one, you use another token month 2, because your tokens roll over or however they would do that. And then you basically say, okay, I'm done with Forza. So you give up the rental on Forza, you get your token back, and then you can go choose something else. But there would be like a control there, whether it's you can only renew your token every 30 days, or if the game gets removed, maybe you get your token back right away.
Right.
Something like that. Because, I mean, at the end of the day here, who's playing Elder Scrolls, Diablo, Halo, Forza, Gears of War, Call of Duty, many of these games are franchises. Who's playing all this?
20-year-old Ryan was, but not anymore.
But you wouldn't even be though, because this is a rolling collection. Like they have original Oblivion, they have Oblivion Remastered, they have, you know what I mean? The collection just keeps growing. You wouldn't be playing all this, but yet you do have access to all that. What I will say though, which is very unfortunate, is this would break one of the Game Pass things, which is that if you and your friends all have Game Pass, you all have the same multiplayer games to play. That would become a problem because it's like, dude, I'm out of tokens. I can't get this other game, and there'd be a whole kind of mess there.
Yeah. Me and Matt have Ultimate. Tim, I don't know what do you have? Do you just have PC?
Just PC, yeah.
So that's still another thing that's not even listed on this page here.
Because it's not Xbox Game Pass, it's PC Game Pass.
Oh yeah, view PC only plan. Then a little drop down, $20 a month. This just says hundreds of PC games, new games on day one, including Xbox published games. Play and earn up to 50,000 reward points a year. Have you been doing that, Tim?
I haven't been keeping on top of like any premium currency type thing.
I very much preferred the discount thing because what I was doing, I was buying like the deluxe edition upgrades because I was getting the game included in Game Pass. I would then be like, okay, yeah, I'll pay $30 for like the upgrade to the deluxe edition or whatever, or get the season pass for the DLC or something. But now it's like I don't do that because I'm not getting a discount on it, and it just feels weird now. I'm not using my points. I don't know how to use my points. That's weird. Someone took down their points program.
Well, the thing that sucks though with the thing you just said, Ryan, is that you effectively own a season pass and you don't own the base product.
That's weird. But yeah. And the thing with PS Plus is like you don't own those games either, and you don't with the Game Pass either, but as soon as your subscription runs out, you lose all access to all those games. So whatever library you built up with PS Plus is just gone as soon as you stop subscribing. Which I guess in a sense is the same as Game Pass, right? Because you lose access if you're not paying anymore.
And it's not like Game Pass makes you like claim games. Like the library is always there. You don't
they
really
got rid of that. They used to have the
games
games gold.
Yeah.
All right. Well, sounds like a lot of big changes happening at Xbox. Whether they're good or bad, we'll have to find out. I'm hoping for the best, though, because I'm hoping they can turn things around. All right, next story here. Bloodborne video game is getting an R-rated animated movie adaptation from Sony. This is from Variety. So PlayStation's Bloodborne video game is being developed into an R-rated animated feature for Sony Pictures that the studio says will embrace the carnage that made the game so popular. Sanford Panitch, president of Sony Pictures Entertainment Motion Picture Group, promised during the studio's CinemaCon presentation that the long-rumored film will be very true to the gory spirit of Bloodborne, which follows a traveler who journeys into a gothic city full of nightmarish creatures. Bloodborne was first developed by From Software and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, which shares a parent company with Sony Pictures and PlayStation. The film is co-produced by PlayStation Productions, Lyrical Animation, and creator and gamer Sean McLaughlin, better known as his pseudonym Jacksepticeye. For the uninitiated, McLaughlin is a gamer who spent years in the world of Bloodborne. I love how these non-gamers talk about video games.
Yeah.
Spent years in the world of Bloodborne. Where his digital adventures are tracked by 48 million online fans.
Makes it sound like Bloodborne's like an MMO that he's just like in all the time, and he's had like millions of people watching him do it.
Well,
He's a
I have this
YouTuber.
big ass quote from Jacksepticeye where he says,
Yeah.
I have dozens and dozens of hours in the original PS4 version that came out, and then I just went ham on the other version, and I play it at least twice a year. I live and breathe this game. I probably have a cumulative like 600 to 700 hours in it. What other versions he's talking about?
I don't know. Was there like a...
I went ham on the other version.
Because Bloodborne is pretty iconically only on the PS4 officially.
Yeah.
Unless they're like, some people hacked it that you could get a higher frame rate, but it was super unstable.
Did Sony not shut that down too?
Probably.
I don't know what he's talking about here. But anyway,
is there an upgrade for PS4 Pro that
No,
isn't necessarily the frame rate?
No,
I think so.
You could use like that thing where Sony would just boost it, but it wasn't like an official, update for PS4 Pro.
Okay.
But anyway, I don't why they got Jacksepticeye involved in this. I'm not sure, but all right.
Would it be did they not add that like procedurally generated crypt or something if you get update?
But that's not
that was
version.
in the PS4 version.
Well, he just says the original PS4 version that came out, and then I went ham on the other version. I kind of wonder if that's what he means in the moment.
Oh, maybe he meant the DLC, like the old Hunters DLC or something.
Yeah, because like the original PS4 version, then the other version would just be the next thing, whatever came out.
Which was, I mean, it's just DLC, but
yeah.
Is he not producing it? Is he not kind of doing this? Yeah. So I think that it may have been. He put out a video on his YouTube channel where he was like, "Oh, I could finally talk about this. Like, I've been working on this a long time, and now I'm finally allowed to talk about it because it's been announced." I got the sense that it was his idea.
Maybe if he was like really pushing for it and stuff.
Yeah,
and talking to people at Sony or whatever. He did admit that it's a surprise that he's working on it, but he's insisted that he's taking his producer role incredibly seriously and will fight so hard to make this amazing. He talked about how it's a dream come true for him. It's the biggest thing they ever worked on.
What do producers do?
Breathes from software games. Depends. A producer's kind of like a toss around role.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're just like the money makers. They just make phone calls and raise funds for the movie.
Fun stuff, yeah.
Sometimes it's like you're the creative visionary behind it, so you're the producer of it. Sometimes you're the reference person. So it's like if we're adapting your book, you're the author, and you become a producer or an executive producer or something.
So is there a producer task that would work well with like a content creator such as Jacksepticeye?
I think it'd be like an advisory role or like some kind of input like that. They must be using him because they probably want to make sure that the movie is good for the gamers. But why are they not working with FromSoft? Or are they? They'd have to be in some capacity, right?
I was going to say they'd have to get some sort of blessing, I would imagine.
Because if I recall correctly, I could be wrong, completely wrong here. But FromSoft says they want to do a Bloodborne 2 or do something with Bloodborne, but Sony keeps saying no.
Mm-hmm.
So Sony must have the controlling stake of the IP.
Or the controlling stake of the game thing, though, because game and movie rights can be completely separate, right?
Yeah. So very interesting. But Tim, what are you hoping to see from an animated Bloodborne movie?
Even though I'm a really big FromSoft fan, I, short of Sekiro, Bloodborne is like the one that I know the least. I did play it. Yeah, I played it very late. I only played it for the first time in like 2021. I did love it, but I beat it and then I immediately wanted to play through it again, 2 or 3 times. But I really don't know that much about Bloodborne itself personally.
I did not know Bloodborne was from frickin' 2015.
Is it 2015? I thought it was 2017.
March, North American launch was March 24th, 2015, as of...
Sekiro was 2018. That's what I'm thinking of.
Holy God. I had no idea it was that old. I knew it was older, but when you said 2021, I was like, isn't that like semi-close to launch? I guess it was not.
No, it's not. Not that I don't like it. Like, Bloodborne's great, and I would love to see like another iteration in that universe.
Something done.
Of course, everybody who played Bloodborne would love a Bloodborne 2. Like, there's nobody that's like, Bloodborne's a miss. Like, I don't care about it.
But I'd even take a PS5 version at this point. Like, just something.
Anything at all, yeah. I find it very strange that they just don't Like it's not that they're like not doing anything with it. They're actively like trying not to, like they're hindering things that people come to them and they pitch and they say, we should do this or that. Like this would sell. And they're like, nah, I don't like money.
And what's mind blowing is like Elden Ring exploded, right? Everyone was like playing Elden Ring and it won Game of the Year. And it's like Sony has a FromSoft IP.
The FromSoft IP that people want.
Yeah, that they could really use right now, and they don't do it. And now FromSoft is making like a Bloodborne kind of spiritual,
the Duskbloods
influence, Duskblood thing. Yeah,
on Switch.
Like, you could have had Bloodborne 2 on the PS5; it would have been a huge seller. You know?
Yeah.
Do you think that they're potentially waiting as like a get out of jail free card? Or they're going to take a misstep?
Why would you do that?
Oh my god! Get a cinematic trailer or even just a title screen for Bloodborne 2. Greenlit, let's go. And then all you have to do is say Bloodborne 2 and all's forgiven. All's forgotten.
I guess, yeah, if they made some mistake or something. Or what if they're like, the PS6 is like $1,200? And everyone's like, oh my God. And they're like, but also Bloodborne 2. And everyone does.
I mean, that would be pretty crazy because like you'd cover it up, right? People would be like, well, I guess I'm getting PS6, even though it's, X amount of dollars.
Yeah. You know what this reminds me of? Back in the day, I think the PS3 era, Sony had an exclusive deal with Rockstar for a game from Rockstar to be exclusive on PlayStation, and they never did anything with it. It didn't go anywhere. It's like, it's so bizarre that you would not try to make, move heaven and earth to make that work.
Yeah.
I want to know what happened behind the scenes. Why didn't it work? And then what's wrong with Bloodborne? What the hell's going on?
I hope this isn't a thing where it was like Mirror's Edge, where everyone wanted more Mirror's Edge, and then Mirror's Edge came out, and it was just sort of like, oh, cool, thanks EA, and then no one really engaged with it, no one really bought it, and it just kind of fizzled away.
Yeah, that's a weird one. That's tough. You kind of want to ride the wave of excitement from the consumer, but then sometimes they also want what they don't want. They
also shut down that Blue Point, right?
Yeah,
and like Blue Point could have made this.
Which they pitched to Sony that they could make a Bloodborne remake.
Yeah.
But From Software said they wanted to do it, right? So, anyway. There is an Elden Ring live action movie coming out too, though, right?
I hope they explain what the hell's going on during the movie. I hope it's not just like a bunch of random quotes and like very like cryptic. And
I mean, that's the kind of beauty of what I really like about From Software games. But obviously the general audience, the movie-going audience might not. But I wanted to be cryptic. I wanted them to just say things, and I'm like, ooh, what's that? And I want to go down a rabbit hole of trying to figure it out. So I hope they keep that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know how a movie works. Are the characters going to talk in normal dialogue and make jokes and that? You know what I mean? Like what's that going to look like?
Let me ask you a question. What director style do you think would work? Because there's definitely a lot of directors out there that have eccentric styles.
The Elden Ring movie guy. I'm trying to find his name here.
Well, there is a guy that's announced, right?
Yeah, and I think he probably is like the best choice he could have made.
Okay.
Alex Garland, and I'll give you his little thing
his
here
filmography.
In a second. Yeah,
his social security number.
Just hack him real quick.
28 days later, 28 weeks later, Dread, Ex Machina, Annihilation, Men, Civil War, and then he produced, I think, 28 years later.
I mean, I agree with that then, because
sorry. I just want to clarify here. He was the writer on 28 Days Later, uncredited on 28 Weeks Later, was the writer on Dread, but then was the director and writer on Ex Machina, Annihilation, Men, Civil War, and then back to writer on 28 Years Later and The Bone Temple. And now he's doing the Elden Ring movie.
The Bone Temple is fucking awesome too.
But if you just look at the types of movies he both wrote for and directed, I feel like they kind of have a From Software kind of vibe to them. They're kind of all dark. There's something foreboding, about them all. So I kind of think it's the perfect director.
I was going to say, because you have the weirdness of Annihilation and the lack of speaking of Dread. There wasn't a lot of talking, right, in Dread.
I don't know if that's a skill you need to have someone not speak, but
no. But the thing is, though, is that it takes. I don't know if I want to say someone special, but a lot of action sequences have a lot of soldier banter. If it's a war film, there's a lot of there's a lot of soldier banter. There's a lot of people running around, doing call outs like cover me, this, that, all the other things that happen in an action film, or, tragic things like, no, don't kill him or whatever, and all this stuff. And I feel like it does take like a good director to be able to have an action sequence that's good and have minimal or no talking. Because okay. like Spielberg, like I just learned this. Spielberg on on Saving Private Ryan, he apparently there was a whole bunch of dialogue that Tom Hanks and others were supposed to say, and Tom Hanks or somebody else on the landing craft was supposed to be like, you maggots and blah blah blah, and there was supposed to be all this talking. And when Matt Damon showed up to the set, because he was in the movie later, he asked Spielberg, like, man, how's the beginning of the film? And he's like, no one talks for the first 40 minutes of this film. And like Matt Damon was like, oh fuck, like this is going to be like an Oscar film. Like this is crazy. This isn't just like an action war film. And so I just think that it takes like it takes like a craft to be able to craft something without dialogue.
Well, I mean, so what's interesting here is Pete Travis is credited as the director of Dredd, but it says Alex Garland actually completed the film. So okay. I don't know what the whole mixture was there. But the thing I like about Dredd is that they kept his helmet on.
Yep.
And it's like, so Hollywood just loves showing their actors' faces because they're paying a lot of money for these people.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think what's the guy's name? I don't think Carl Urban was that big at that time, and this wasn't a massive movie. But just the idea that they could hire a lead role character and not show his entire face the whole time, I think, yeah, it takes an artistic kind of intent, and they had a vision of what that character was going to be, and they didn't stray from it. And so I like that kind of, decision. Am
I wrong in saying that there was minimal dialogue as well? Like, he didn't speak much, right? If I remember correctly.
He's not the most talkative, but he does talk a lot.
But it's been a long time. Maybe I should rewatch this. But I thought that the action sequences were very, like, there wasn't a lot of, like, cover me and blah, 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 and, like, all kinds of the call-outs.
He doesn't expand on the conversations. It's very kind of one word or one sentence replies, But yeah, I wouldn't say he's not talkative.
Well, that's the same with Saving Private Ryan. Like, Tom Hanks does say covering fire and, like, get up to the beach, like the seawall or whatever. And like, there's I don't know, the seawall thing that might be from Medal of Honor Frontline. But there's bits of dialogue that push the story forward. I just mean that many action sequences in films in general are very, very talkative, explaining everything that's happening, lots and lots of banter, etc.
But I think if you look at Ex Machina, Annihilation, maybe to an extent, Men, just because of the weirdness of that movie.
Holy crap! That is a weird film. Woo-wee.
And then Civil War. It's like those few films alone, I think, kind of have a similar Elden Ring, or you could adapt it into an Elden Ring vibe or a movie. So I'm pretty positive on that.
The other thing with FromSoft IPs is that like the world lore is very rich and the NPCs talk a lot. Mm-hmm. Like they could do some sort of thing where the main character, or the character that the story is following, doesn't actually have much dialogue ever. Kind of Mandalorian style, right? Where in the first season he doesn't talk all that much. And have the vast majority of like any dialogue that does need to happen be through secondary characters, right? Side characters. But like when you talk about Spielberg being like, oh, there's no dialogue in the first 40 minutes of this film, it just goes to show like you can obviously still tell a compelling story by respecting the intelligence of the audience to like understand what's going on the screen and not being spoon-fed all the information the whole time, right?
And the gravity of the situation. Like it's a friggin' pretty serious invasion and it's very dangerous and like all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, you see a bunch of people running up the beaches from a bunch of boats and they're all getting gunned down en masse. Like you don't need words for that, right? Like,
yeah.
I just recently, sorry, Matt, do you want to say something?
No, yeah, I was just going to ask, like, what would we want from an Elden Ring? Because the way I thought of it, the reason why I said the silence part is like, I was thinking the sequences of you're on kind of a journey as the player and there's no one talking, but you're 100% right, Tim, is that when you get to the character, that character talks a bunch.
Yeah.
And like, I guess in the same breath of Saving Private Ryan, it's like once they get to Private Ryan, there's a lot of talking, and there's a lot of talking in other parts of the film as well. And so I guess the thing is like, do we want to have almost that gameplay loop, which I guess would now be a movie loop of like with like a journey? Like, what is this? What is this? Is this an action film? Is it a drama? What is this thing?
No, he's just in the chalice dungeons, grinding over and over the same thing over and over again.
Fuck! I keep dying here. But
well, I just recently read through Fellowship of the Ring, and what I've really enjoyed about it is not being spoon-fed the lore and being given, not having to explain everything that's said.
Yeah,
and it gives a lot of weight to the actual universe. It feels real because they're just talking like they know it.
Yep.
Because we would bring up some historical fact and we all be like, okay, yeah, we don't need that to be explained to us.
Which is like the same as FromSoft lore too. Like it's all just there, and you have to go chase it. Yeah,
it makes their worlds feel old and lived in, right?
Yep.
Where like I remember one like just something as simple as like when they're in the mines of Moria and the Balrog shows up and Legolas says it's a Balrog of God, what's the guy's name? Morgoth. He doesn't explain what Morgoth is.
Yeah.
He just says it's a Balrog of Morgoth, and you're just like, holy shit, what is that? You know?
Who?
And they never explain it in the book. They don't go into like the deep history of what Morgoth is.
Yeah.
But it just adds another layer of detail that's kind of nice. So I hope they do that. I don't want a bunch of exposition. You don't need a bunch of exposition.
No.
Have more faith in the audience's intelligence, I think.
Seriously. But I think the other part of it that, like, just to really quickly touch on that is, like, the reason that we see so much media of people, or so much media where, like, they don't respect the intelligence is because I think on average when people, like, watch stuff, they're not paying full attention. And so they need refreshers constantly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're on TikTok or whatever, usually.
Yeah. Scrolling Instagram Reels.
All right. We got a Query Corner question here. Who should review games? Now, there always seems to be kind of a tug of war between, the gamers and then the press in terms of like, oh, this game is really popular with the press, but the people don't like it, or the people really like it and the press don't like it. Now, there's a lot of games do line up. There are games where they both are in harmony, but then there's other games that have huge swings of opinions and stuff. These are all opinions. We're all humans. We're all individuals. Reviews from IGN or whoever does not mean it's like law and you have to believe it,
right?
But people treat it like that for some reason. There's some authority given when it's from a publication. But we were talking about who should review games, and actually talking about FromSoft games. It's like if you're a brand new gamer and you've never played a FromSoft game, do you really want an expert telling you that this game is good when it's actually going to be very hard for a new player to get into? So, should you have two reviews? The casual gamer review of Elden Ring and then the pro FromSoft player review. But anyway, who should review games?
Well, I have a twist on this. So my favorite show growing up was for game reviews because we didn't really have internet. We had TV shows on G4 Tech TV. I know people love X Play. I watched X Play for entertainment. But I watched reviews on the run for the review. And the reason why is because there's two people. There was Vic and Tommy, and then eventually other people as well. And so you're getting two opinions. But my favorite part of the whole show in terms of review was there was a pros and cons list. And so if let's say most of the time was with Tommy, I could trust Tommy's score relatively accurately. And I could also, if I was lined up most of the time with Vic, I could do the same for him. But if I wasn't lined up with either of them, I had another thing, which was a pro and con list. And there were a few titles where I would look at it and they would say, I hated this inventory management thing in the con list. And the inventory thingamajig, I actually like doing that. So that's a pro to me. So immediately it's like, okay, this game actually does sound okay. Like they're putting a lot of weight on this con. They've talked about it a bunch, but I like doing that. So now I've just removed the biggest con, put it in the pros, and I'm able to like make that decision myself.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the answer is kind of easy that, you should read a wide variety of reviews and not just one.
More is more.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people also say, find a reviewer that you kind of vibe with, but I don't know if I've ever actually done that. I've never really, looked at, oh, who reviewed this game, and then, although Matt, you like skill up reviews, so you kind of you seem to like trust his opinions on things.
Well, I line up with him often, so
Yeah.
he's not the word of God, but like oftentimes when I listen to him, his opinions like line up with mine, and he does a good job of explaining what his opinion is. Like if he loved Crimson Desert, and he explains why it's this big thing that's kind of like Skyrim. By saying that, if I hate Skyrim, I know I'm out, even though it's skill up.
Yeah.
I think one big question is like, do you need to get someone who is like, let's say a puzzle game is like a classic divisive thing, because there's many people who love puzzle games and many people who hate puzzle games, and I don't like puzzle games myself, and so like I wonder for something like that, and this goes for shooters and stuff as well, but just to zoom in on puzzle games for the moment, do you get somebody who hates them? Do you get somebody who loves them? Do you get somebody who is indifferent? And that goes for franchises big time as well. Do you get a huge Zelda fan to review a Zelda? Are they going to be able to look objectively into it? Obviously, if they're working for IGN or something, they're supposed to be professional. But are they going to be able to see through anything but rose-colored glasses when it comes to Zelda if they absolutely love Zelda?
I think we've talked about that in the past of how, because me and Matt didn't really, we're not the biggest Nintendo fans, but the Nintendo fans love freaking Nintendo.
We don't them, yeah.
We don't see it, and it's like, how do we parse out whether it's just nostalgia? I don't have any emotional reaction to seeing Mario, or any real Nintendo character. I'm not excited for that new Zelda show or movie or whatever. I'm gonna go see it as a fan of games, but I have no connection to a lot of Nintendo franchises. So how is a review of a game, if you might tell me that Mario Odyssey is an amazing game, but when I play it, it's like it's okay,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I might have been more along the line of like, oh, I should find somebody who I like agree with, and then kind of just see what their opinion is of things. And I think that's still probably the case for like a lot of people. Like they kind of go to YouTube to see what their opinion on a game should be. But now I'm definitely more along the line of like, I feel like there's a lot of value in getting as much information about a thing if it's that important. Like it's a game, like it's not the biggest deal in the world, but
yeah,
there is a lot of value in getting as many opinions as you can, even from people that you disagree with, right? Like I would be interested in seeing why somebody doesn't like a thing that I like, because maybe there's some consideration that I hadn't thought about before, So like I the older I get, the more I want to like know why people think what they think, instead of just being like, oh, we disagree, I'm going to completely disregard your opinion on everything then.
I often read or watch reviews after the fact too. I'll have played it myself,
and then get
or
context,
at least started to play it or something, and then I find it interesting or fun to then hear other people's opinions. It's definitely easier to like track a single reviewer with YouTube than it is like on IGN, where it's like, I don't know if they have like a couple dozen editors or whatever, or game reviewers, and I'm not looking at their names on the article. I'm sorry, I'm just not, So I'm not tracking, oh, this person is the reviewer for this game, I want to see what they review next. I just don't do that. But when it's YouTube, it's like, okay, there's the skill up guy, I'll watch his review and I know it's him, and then that's done. I don't have to worry about that.
That's actually really interesting, is with IGN or any major publication, is there any merit or strength in consistency? So what I mean by that is they have however many reviewers, but there's only one scorer, and that score will then get tabulated inside of things like Metacritic. It'll get shared around and stuff. But there's not that one consistent person, that one consistent thing. And that is likely why people go to individual influencers, where they will go to somebody like SkillUp. They will go to many other ACG, etc., in order to get opinions. Because if they line up with ACG, then if ACG hates it, then they're likely to hate it. But with IGN, the problem is they may rate Grand RPGs 9 out of 10 on average, and then all of a sudden they rate one a 4, and it's because it's actually a different person.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a different review method in a way, unless they have pretty strict internal policies on that.
I wonder if it actually would be beneficial for them to make their reviewers more front facing and more the face of IGN, because right now it's a lot of their podcasters that I find are kind of the face, like Damon Hatfield, but I don't think he really reviews games anymore. I don't know if that's really his job anymore. So, so it's like I feel like they need to bring on the reviewers and have them be more of a quote unquote character of IGN, who would, either record all their VOs for their reviews, or even like put their face on the thumbnail, just so you have a better way of tracking who's reviewing what.
And it could be even per department. Maybe Damon would do all the RPGs, someone else would do all the puzzle games. But we also mentioned, I think it might have been me that mentioned that maybe we should almost have, for the big publications, a review by committee where you have someone who hates puzzle games, someone who is indifferent, someone who loves it. It is a lot of work, but it's also a bigger publication. Like Skill Up doesn't have 3 people or 2 other people, I guess, to like help him with that, for example.
But they're a business, right? What's the payoff there? Would they make money by doing that?
I suppose they probably wouldn't be as specific. Well, actually, I shouldn't even, there's ways probably to extract money out of that. You would have a debate, whether it be a podcast or a video, as your review. Like your panel would be your review, rather than it be a traditional, there's B-roll and there's specific scenes that are handpicked over top of, or then there's some VO there. It wouldn't just be that. It would be a more complete package, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Alrighty. That's it for the news and the Query Corner question. Moving on to what we're playing. Tim, what the hell have you been playing this week?
Oh my god.
I think this week it was literally actually all WoW.
Wow.
And nothing else. No, that's not true. I did play the last couple of weeks. Actually, I've been playing an Elden Ring randomizer with a friend. So we're doing the seamless co-op mod for Elden Ring, funnily enough. And we are also doing a randomizer. So all the loot is randomized, enemies are randomized, bosses are randomized. And we are having a fantastic time trying to get through the game and figure out that puzzle. With a couple of the thing that's really nice about the randomizer mods is that you can, there's so many settings to fiddle with to tailor the experience exactly how you want. So one of the things that makes the game a little bit easier, but also is just kind of very convenient for the purposes of trying to get through a randomizer in a decent amount of time while we're streaming it, is to remove stat requirements for weapons and equipment and stuff. So when you're starting out normally with your stats the way that they would normally start as a level 1 character, but if you find a gigantic, or rather an end game weapon that would normally require 50 intelligence or strength or whatever it is, you can use it right away. It just makes all the requirements 0. That's not to say that it's that you're going to be super overpowered, because what's kind of cool about the equipment in that game is it always scales to whatever your stats are, right? So if you we found one of the legendary weapons right at the beginning of the game, and we could use it, but it wasn't grossly overpowered because our stats were low. So it's a setting that I think, honestly, if I were to play through Elden Ring again just on my own time, I would to start a new playthrough, I'd probably use the randomizer without randomizing anything, and then just use that setting so that it's as soon as I find something, I can just use it, and I don't have to worry about waiting until I have the right stats, use the weapon I want to use, right? Because it's still, even within just the base mechanics of the game, pretty balanced. So it's quite fun and encourages you to actually use different equipment than you otherwise might, right? Because it's oh, I'm never going to be able to use this. And then it's still obviously you still want to be investing in what you would normally want to invest in for your build, and then you get that payoff as you continue on, right? And then when you start getting your stats higher, it's oh, now this weapon is actually scaling really well, and I've upgraded it enough that now it's its intelligence scaling is an S instead of a C, and so I'm getting a lot more value out of my like levels, with just my basic weapons and interactions and stuff. That's really awesome. And then there's another one that I feel like should just be not a setting, should just be the way that Elden Ring works from the get-go, is that every upgrade for weapons only requires one upgrade material instead of needing like 3 of this level, then 3 of this level, then 3 of this level. You can just like, you get one and it's one per level, one per level, one per level for somber weapons and normal weapons. So that's very convenient. But aside from that, it's pretty much just been WoW. But in a couple ways. So like I'm still doing the lore through. I did hit the level cap, so I am level 70 now in Burning Crusade. I've just been trying to grind out some quote like early end game activity type stuff. So like I'm doing dungeons to try to get like the best gear that I can get without running raids and stuff, because I don't have, we're not in a guild. We haven't put a guild together that has enough people that can like regularly be available to do, well, that are A, even max level with gear, and B, are part of the guild and could fulfill to fill out a raid group to do that. But I don't know, if time goes on and I can like join into a group that's already got a team together running a raid that happens to be at a time that's convenient for me, maybe I could join them. But
it's interesting that it's a Microsoft game now. It feels
yeah, Blizzard,
it feels very
Activision.
Weird.
Yeah, I mean, when you play classic WoW, it's definitely like literally nobody, as I've been playing this for months, has ever mentioned like Microsoft. Like everybody still views it as like OG Blizzard, right? So yeah, it's interesting because like it's playing the game that I played as a teenager and playing the content that I played, well, some of it I played as a teenager, but you're playing with those same people, so you're all a lot older, and so the vibe is different because people are all like older and more chill for the most part. Like all the vast majority of people that I've played with or talked to or whatever playing classic have been really good, have been chill people. Occasionally you get an asshole, but that's just like anything, right? But I gotta say, like disproportionately, there's a ton of cool people that are playing, and aside from that, we have like there's another kind of streamer led thing going on in the hardcore servers again that's kind of started up in the last couple of weeks, where it's like a race locked challenge. So each of them is like started a guild, and each guild is like everybody in the guild is just the one race. So they're like, it's the one guild is all night elves, and the one guild is all humans, and the one guild is all dwarves or all Tauren or whatever. And it's really like the challenge therein lies with like if you're all gnomes, for example, in classic, gnomes can only be a handful of classes. They can't be healers. So it's like, how are you going to run dungeons? How are you going to run raids potentially at max level with all gnomes if you're all only mages and warriors and et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of interesting. But the different streamers are kind of doing different sort of vibes for their guilds to an extent. And some of them are going like super heavy on the RP, and some of them are like kind of being more like sweaty. So myself and a couple of friends like made Night Elf characters to join the Night Elf guild, and it's just been like ridiculous. Like there are some people that join the guild that are like, again, so into the RP of everything that you get these like really weird interactions. But it's funny because like I think people are kind of like, they've played classic WoW enough, they're satisfied with the like the playing of the game. Like they got their fill of like hitting max level. They've had their fill of like doing it on a hardcore server. So now it's like, what do we do? And so it's kind of like regressed to an extent where now they're going back to like going full in on the RP. They're not doing like the meta builds with all of the best in slot gear all the time. Like you've got people that are like, oh yeah, I'm a warrior, but I'm technically role playing as like a demon hunter, so I'm wearing like a cloth like skirt weapon. I'm not wearing chest armor. I'm dual wielding these two like blades, and I'm focusing much more on like the interactions with the other players and making like silly moments than trying to like beat the content, so to speak. And then the fact that it's on a hardcore server is just sort of that little spice that makes it like, oh, you RP'd too close to the sun and you died, and now you gotta reroll your character. But it's just like, it's kind of like where you go fully back around the circle of like trying so hard that now you don't care anymore. And now you've gone back to like playing the game casually and the way that we did as kids, where we kind of didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what was like the meta. We didn't know what's best in slot. And so we're just kind of like using whatever we find and not speed running to max level, just kind of like trying to find different cool things to do in each zone and like make our own adventures and stuff. And it's refreshing, and it's been weird to see the reception of it, because some people are like, oh man, you know, classic WoW is so dead that people have to like make their own fun. And it's like, have you never heard of using your imagination? Have you never heard of playing a game in sort of like a more sandbox way where you come up with your own goals instead of just like doing what the game tells you to do all the time? But so it's been really, really funny, really interesting. Only just barely kind of scratched the surface on that, because definitely still like far and away, you know, Burning Crusade stuff is my primary focus for myself. But I consider myself, you know, a WoW enjoyer in many forms, right? So just trying to get as many different experiences out of it as I can, because you know, these sorts of things don't happen all the time, so it's kind of cool to like be able to do this stuff when there's a community there, right? It's kind of the whole point of the MMO, is like that it's social.
I was going to actually ask you, this goes back to the Elden Ring thing though, but can you actually beat the randomizer?
Of course, yeah.
So you just basically would enter the boss arena, like the final boss arena, and it would just be a random boss, so that would still end.
Yep.
Okay.
The logic of the game still functions the same. It's like, you know, you don't have to go to X location and beat X boss in, or you know, Y boss in X location. It's just like, get the checkpoint at this point in the, you know,
like
meta
kill a boss
of the
here.
game. Yeah. So it's, because a lot of the time, like the progression of those games is just doing the thing in the space, right? It's not ever like specifically kill this guy, because then it's like, oh, if we just randomly got, you know, the Elden Beast at the very beginning of the game and killed it, the game wouldn't be over. It's like you killed that boss, but you still have to go, you know, burn the Erd Tree or whatever and go inside.
Right. Okay. I was just curious, because like I was thinking more of a randomizer in the idea that you would open a door and then you wouldn't end up in the wizard's tower or whatever. You would end up somewhere else. And I was like, is this like a continual game where it just keeps like, you know, you just keep going, and there's no real end? But it definitely doesn't sound like that.
No, it's still the same like game. It's still same progression, same world. The world's all the same that way. It's just like the loot and the enemies are randomized.
Okay.
And there might be different like versions of different randomizers to that extent, but like I don't necessarily, you know those ones. I just know this one. But the world is definitely your oyster when it comes to randomizers. Like there's so many different like permutations. Like it's gotta be like, there's more with the number of like possible changes and marks in like a checklist of all the things you could change. Like it's gotta be more options for that Elden Ring randomizer in that program than there are like grains of sand on a beach. Like it's just gigantic numbers, you know?
Yeah.
And with all the ways that like all the places that there's like loot in the game, every time you generate a seed, it's like you could get the same exact seed as another thing, but just like these two items locations are swapped. And then when you think of how many like thousands of item locations there are in the game, it's like, okay, so now we're taking that like, you know, exponent, and now it's like to the 10,000 or whatever. And it's like, this is so many possibilities. Not that they're all going to be like meaningfully different, but it's like, this is just one program. Like, who's to say what you could do with more different programs too? And the fact that we're like, it's compatible with other mods. Like we're doing seamless co-op, which is in itself just a really nice way to play Elden Ring.
Yeah. That's how you and I played it. Like,
yeah. Man. So yeah, it's a lot of great stuff. I'm in a real like renaissance right now where I'm going back and playing a lot of like games that I just really love in different ways, right? And It's been a while. It's been a while since I played a new game, but I feel like I don't know. I might need to get back to doing a variety of new stuff. I still really want to play Death Stranding 2, and then I got to play that James Bond game when it comes out, and so
lots to do. There's a lot of games coming in right now.
Yeah, exciting stuff.
Matt, what have you been playing?
What have I been playing? I played a bit of Apex once again, doing a bit of that. I think we won once or twice. Had some pretty spicy matches. I feel like I'm slowly but surely becoming more useful to the team, so that's good. I play more of a combat support role. I stay back and snipe, and I also use a weapon, which is my character ability called the Knuckle Cluster. Basically, I shoot I shoot an area, and then like a bunch of like puff grenades go off in that area. So basically, it'll be like the other two people that I'm playing with will be shooting at somebody. That person will go into cover, and it'll be like, Matt, shoot a Knuckle Cluster here to like force them out of cover. And then now I snipe them as well, so I'll force them out of cover, and then I'll shoot them. Or if they're trying to get somebody up, I'll Knuckle Cluster them, things like that. And then there's like they changed his ultimate. They used to just be this big fire ring. Now it's this like mortar thing. So I'm still kind of learning how to use that. But I'm starting to get some fairly high damage numbers in comparison to my colleagues. It'll always, I think, be lower as like more of a combat support role, because it like they're forcing people into situations and then I'm assisting in those situations more or less. But the team dynamic works and I'm hitting my shots, so that's good. Other than that, I tried out Starfield again. I installed Starfield on my Xbox. Right. I wanted to try Free Lanes. I wanted to try the DLC eventually. And I was messing around with Free Lanes, and I just did it for maybe 10, maybe 20 minutes back and forth just to kind of figure out the mechanics. And what I like about it so far is basically let's say you're at Earth, you're in orbit, and you point at Mars, and you can kind of go into this cruise mode. And so you're actually traveling there. While you're traveling there, you can get out of your seat and walk around your ship. What's great about that is like the inside of my ship is actually garbage. There's no crafting benches. I stole this ship and just started strapping engines and like reactors and shit to it just to get places. So now it's like, okay, I actually want this ship to be functional because I'm going to be traveling and I'm going to want to be able to craft and get ready for combat and stuff while I'm traveling to a place. You can still just fast travel to a place like before. But what is supposed to happen, and I haven't encountered any of these yet, what is supposed to happen is there are free lane random encounters. And so an alarm will go off on at your cockpit. So you'll have to run back from wherever you are on the ship to your cockpit and then kind of deal with the situation. I've just been inside of the Milky Way, so I've just been around Earth and Mars and stuff right now, and I have not found any of these random encounters. I assume maybe in higher level areas, or maybe it's rarer than I think. I'm not sure. But the reason why I haven't found any of these encounters is because I saw a sensor contact on my HUD on my map. So I was like, okay, I'll go over there. And I went over there, and it ended up being the DLC. It ended up being Shattered Space, which is the first DLC, and I didn't know that's what it was. And so then I spent an hour and a half going through a space station, and I mean, I guess spoilers for the beginning of the DLC, going through a space station and then fighting Varun politics. And it was just like, holy Christ. And then I went to bed. But
nice and relaxing.
Nice and relaxing. But I will say, I heard Shattered Space is not that good. I actually don't mind it so far. I think the mystery is cool. I think the intro mission is actually quite well done. And I think the introduction to the Varun people, where it's a bit drawn out, is actually decently handled. And in classic Bethesda style, of course, you land in what is supposed to be an amazingly large city, but there's been a disaster that has destroyed most of it. So it's just a tiny ass city, of course. But I've been walking around the place, and I just got pulled into a side mission in which two brothers have decided to duel each other to the death, because one is sort of a drunkard and one is sort of successful, and they're at each other's throats because the drunkard brother meant to sell one of the successful brother's vases, but he accidentally tried to actually sell the mother's urn with her remains inside. And so the successful guy's like, fuck you, you're an idiot. Like, we're going to go to terms. And what's crazy is I'm forced to be I forget what they called it, but it's basically the neutral party that assists the drunkard brother. So the successful brother has someone else that's assisting him, and you're supposed to be like sort of a bipartisan, like help prepare. So they're still explaining it to me, but then like I said, I went to bed. It was like 3 a.m, so I went to bed. It's cool so far. Like I know people are complaining about it. Maybe it'll get bad, but I am willing to play Starfield in its current state. We'll see if that lasts. Basically,
waiting for the game to prove you wrong.
Right. Exactly. Because free range is cool, but maybe it'll become more of a gimmick later. But what I am doing is I am playing more just quests, other than me, or rather, I want to. So like when I reinstalled the game, I thought I'm going to play with free lanes, of course. I'm going to try these new tools and these new ways of travel. But what I want to do is I've been hearing from people that there's actually fairly good quest lines and there's fairly good quests, and I have been through a couple quest lines that were actually very good. And so I'm like, you know what? I keep playing this game like a sandbox. Maybe I need to treat this. It is not a sandbox. It is, let me do quests. Because even in Oblivion, I could walk around the world over and over again, which is cool, but I would get bored much quicker than if I was doing quests. In Oblivion Remastered, I just ran around on a horse listening to the music, more or less. So for nostalgia's sake, I did a few missions, but I was just kind of enjoying it, and then I stopped playing it. So when I go back to even that, I'm going to start probably doing missions again. So I want to do that in Starfield. The other thing I played was I continued my Mafia: The Old Country playthrough. I completed a level or two, and it's pretty good. Honestly, it's very, very good. They gave me a car and to borrow, and so I went to I grabbed this car, and they said I could go to this one guy that has like sort of a sketchy shop to upgrade it. So I went to the sketchy shop and got some upgrades for it, which was just paint. In my case, I accidentally bought it. I didn't realize it was 1,000 denarii, and I only had 1,400 and spent 1,000 on the paint. But I digress. And then I broke into some rich guy's mansion. I will say that the mansion scene, which was shown in some of the promo materials before the game came out, I will say does show one of the game's glaring issues. So I said before that the game is not it's not pushing game mechanics forward. Like it's very like you're playing a game, but it is like a vessel for the story. But sneaking into this guy's house was just like kind of grueling, and it's very like, oh, like I gotta wait, throw a coin. The guy's like, what was that? And you go behind him, you choke him out, then you pick up his body, you find a big wood crate to throw his body in to hide it. Very,
yeah, old like stealth game mechanics.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you're like, so basically when you grab somebody, you can, if you're using the keyboard, you grab them and then you start mashing E to choke them out. But if you want to kill them immediately, you can stab them with your knife, but your knife needs to be sharpened because it only has a certain amount of durability. And so you have to find these like stones, like the whetstones, sharpening stones in order to sharpen your blade. And so you don't want to use them too much. And it's just kind of a bit of a pain in the ass that way. I will say that some people said that the driving is really grueling. You can just skip it. I don't know if that was added in an update, but the instant I got the car and I drove out of the villa and was heading across the country to this objective, it just said I could skip the ride. But the old cars are hilarious, so I really like driving them. And there's no other cars on the road because it's 1904 or whatever the fuck it is. So only the rich people have cars. And so I'm having a great time, and the game is pretty gorgeous. Like looking over the old, like Italian sort of like the vineyards and the old towns and stuff. And it's very kind of mountainous and not quite mountains, but very hilly. And it looks really nice. And so I'm having a great time just driving around as needed. So I'm going to keep playing it. I mean, I really enjoy it. My opinion has not gone down. Unfortunately, one of the flaws has shown itself, but I was kind of expecting it, to be honest. And I want to try. Sometimes they'll like the characters will say stuff like, oh, like keep it quiet or whatever. I kind of wonder what the penalty for not keeping it quiet is. It just sort of a scolding from the character? Because I can just run in there and start shooting. I don't know.
I imagine that's the case.
Maybe, but this game's, for whatever reason, I'm pretty bad at the gunplay in this game. I keep getting my ass kicked. And so I kind of wonder whether they're just going to throw so many enemies at me that it's like, oh, this guy's not good at combat, so he's going to die. Maybe. We'll see. But we'll see what happens. The next mission, I just did like the first 10 or 15 seconds, but one of your comrades is just like, come here, like, follow me. We're not going to tell you why. And it's like, uh-oh, like, what does that mean? So we'll see what happens, because there's a bit, spoiler, but there's a bit of a romantic affair going on with the Don's daughter. Let's just say that. So we'll see what happens there. But that's it. That has been my week.
The big one for me was started playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth again. So Aaron, a buddy of ours, just tore through Remake. I think he even played it on the hardest difficulty, and he probably got the platinum. And that game's probably done.
I did see that he got a recent platinum, so I think you're right.
Yeah. And so then he moved on to Rebirth, and I kind of asked him like, "Oh, I'm not very good at JRPGs, and in particular Final Fantasy games." So I asked him like, "Oh, maybe we can kind of play it like together, but like separately, but like try to play along with each other or whatever." And so we did that today, and he was giving me tips and stuff like that. So that was nice. So that is a game that's on my backlog that I've been trying to get through. So it would be nice to actually finish it. I hear it's a long game.
It is a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah. And I have it on the PS5 Pro, and it has the new updated PSSR support. So it looks nice. It's running nice. A lot of texture pop in though. That can't really be helped. Yeah, because it's super detailed, that world. There's a lot of just stuff, and like you're running through a field, and there's all these little plants and flowers and stuff, and they're all popping in as you're going. But it looks nice. But yeah, you kind of see the behind the scenes kind of work happening when you
see the seams of the game, right?
Right. Yeah. Other than that, Overwatch has a new season, new hero out, and as usual, I do not try the new hero. I stick with my mains. But that's been fun. It's been fun having Overwatch back. I'm glad that it kind of made a comeback because I've been missing it. So I've been happy to play that again. And that's about it for me. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Tim, where can the people find you doing your thing, your WoW thing?
Wowing it up.
Wowing it up.
Most days a week. Maybe not 5 days a week. We'll see. Twitch.tv/sidetrack. Got a good group of people. If you're playing WoW, feel free to join the guild where some of us have gotten to level 70. I'm like the fourth one to get to level 70. I'm lagging behind, but it's been a good time getting some actual like dungeons done and getting hopefully geared for maybe joining some raid groups. Who's to say? But otherwise, we're just kind of taking it easy. Yeah, feel free to pop in and hang out.
And then we're still working away on Warhammer. Space Marine 2.
Very fun.
Very fun. And we're getting into the customizations shit now.
Twitch.tv/DayOnePatchMedia, Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern. So we'll catch you there. See ya.
Peace.